Following Willie more and more. Back in the NRL. There's Willie Mason.
That's forgotten how big Willie actually is.
Perhaps the presence of Willie had the Panthers looking at his imposing frame.
I'm a 25-minute man. Oh, you got skill, son.
Uppercut right hand by Big Willie.
Too fancy for you.
Welcome to episode number 26 of the Take With Willie Iain. Half a year, eh? 50,
Oh my God.
52 weeks in a year. I did
Nearly
maths
done.
in my head then. It is almost done. It's a very exciting time of year, William. It's finals time. It's getting to the business end.
2 more weeks, eh? That's it. Then there was 4. This year's gone so quick, eh?
It's gone so quick.
I'm just used to having, like, you know, once your season finishes, you're still sort of indoctrinated into that rugby league sort of world. But once the season finishes, like your year finishes.
Yeah.
You know, so you're done in October. And that's just like pre-season. It's just off-season.
Then
you
it's
know what I mean?
off-season, yeah.
But obviously this year with the World Cup, it's going to be extended. So we'll be doing more shows this year. It's not just going to end for us now in the next couple of weeks. But it's some good games, man. Some good games coming up. I don't think the weekend was as high quality as the weekend before.
No.
I don't think so. I think, we'll get into it a little bit later, but Canberra's a little bit out of their depth, I think. They didn't really come with a good game plan. They got absolutely smoked. So, I think the teams, they've been probably the most consistent all year, don't you think? Like the teams that are in the Final Four sort of figured itself out.
I think it's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's fair. Like if you look at, I guess at the start of the year, and I had a shocker with some of my predictions, and I wouldn't have had the Cowboys anywhere near that, but they deserve to be there.
Everyone had the Cowboys in their bottom 4.
Yeah.
Or wooden spoon.
Yeah, it's been a massive effort from the North Queensland side. And I think, if you look at the sides, I think what's kind of good is that there's some really different styles of football that are in this last 4. I think if you look at, they reckon styles make fights in terms of fights. And did we talk about the Gallen thing? When was the fight? Was after that? Wasn't it after our thing last week?
Yeah.
Let's have a quick talk about that because you went up there.
You went up there. It was harder than like he thought. I saw him at the airport the next day. He's like, "Fuck, they come ready." Like Ben Hannah, like he give him a fair
he's tough.
Fair nudge. Ben Hannah's he's just tough and he's fit. Gal's fit. But like. And then Hodjo come in there and he legit dropped Gal. I saw Gal at the airport and he goes, he legit got me.
Yeah.
He goes, and he's been in the ring with Mark Hunt.
Yeah.
The big daddy. Some real big hitters like Hopper. None of them dropped him. He's played over 300 games and Origins and everything. Never been dropped. And then Hodjo gets that hit on him. He fucking rattled him a little bit, but he got the job done. It'd be interesting to see what a fresh Gallen, because he had 4 2-minute rounds against Ben Hannah. It was just a fucking proper street fight.
Yeah. How hard would it have been, though, for him? And imagine the letdown when you come out and you think, you talk to yourself, I can do this. It's, it'll be, he probably thought he was going to stop Ben Hannah sooner. But then you come in and then you go, hang on, I've got to do this again now. People don't realise what a massive effort it was.
The high after a fight and then all you want to do is just chill out, have a beer and just relax or just hydrate, whatever. Just celebrate that moment. Nope.
No.
By the time he would have cooled down, he's got to get back up again. So it's massive. Only blokes like Gal could do that. He's just that mentally tough and he's that strong. So, it was good for Hodjo and good for Benny. So it wasn't a sideshow that everyone thought it was going to be.
It wasn't.
It was just it was quality. It was a quality night. No Limit put a good night on. So it was good.
How'd you go after? Good.
I didn't have a beer.
Didn't you?
No.
There you go. You
Not
surprised me, William. Well done.
I told you.
Now, the other thing I guess that we should talk about then, quickly about that, is apparently Gallen's last fight. I feel like, I don't know, I guess he's got a contract, but Gallen he's 41 years old. What he's done, he's phenomenal, but you can't keep putting your body through professional sport for that long. But he's obviously going to have one more fight because he's contractually obliged. This whole Matt Lodge thing, Matt Lodge has said he'll do it for free and he'll put all his money. He wants $1 million to charity and that sort of thing, and everyone wants to see Matt Lodge get his head punched off.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit like...
They're just using his name for some clout.
Yeah, I just can't see...
Gal's 41, man. And I spoke to Gal after and he goes, Father Time's undefeated, man. You know what I mean? Sort of just catches up and just goes, boom, you're done. And I think he might have felt that in those 2 fights. I think he'll... I think he's got one more fight with No Limit.
Then right off into the sunset.
And that's it. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to fight Lodge. You know, he doesn't fight for charity, Gal. Everyone knows what Gal does. He wants his paper. If it's a big enough bag, he'll take it.
Oh, he won't get. He'll
You know
get
what
the
I mean?
money.
He
He'll
told
get
me.
paid.
He
Logic.
openly said it last night. He goes, "I don't fucking fight for charity, pretty much." And you know, Lodge can give his money to charity, but
Yeah, but he's not gonna.
You know, Gal puts that work in, and everyone's using. They're trying to get some clout off Gal. Like Lodge wants to fight him. You know, that's up to Gal.
Who's the bad guy in that fight? Who's the heel? Like they in.
I don't know. I think they'll probably
Gallen
Gal will probably
Gal would be
like,
the hero.
Gal will be the hero because everyone's still filthy on Lodge of what happened a couple of years ago. So
I would not want to fight Matt Lodge.
he's a big boy.
Yeah, he's
And if he puts some training in,
Crazy eyes.
Yeah, and Gal don't have to prove himself, man. He's 41. Go fight. Matt Lodge should fight.
Paolo, or
Junior
something.
Paulo. Junior Paulo. Fight him. Same age, same size, same era. Like that'll be a good test for him.
Yeah.
Why are you going to fight Gal for? You know, like it's just because it's Paul Gallen.
Everyone wants a
it's
payday.
an easy target. Everyone wants a payday. And
Everyone
Gal
wants a
knows that.
payday.
And he's probably just off principle. Gal won't give it to him.
I think Lodge is probably doing it for the right reasons.
Gal's
but-
doing it. I
yeah.
mean, Lodge is, but Lodge could easily say, "I'll fight like Sonny Bill."
Yeah.
Call Sonny Bill out.
Well, I mean, he's never fought before, I think. So
Well, I know that.
Yeah.
But Gal's had 20 fights now.
yeah.
So I'm not sure what he wants to do. Like, I mean, if he wants to actually fight and raise money for charity, there's other people out there.
Yeah.
You know, like you can Paulo and all these other. You know, Ben Hannett will probably fight you. Hodjo will definitely fight you. You know what I mean? You can just piggyback off that, but it's just because it's Paul Gallen. I'm not sure. You know, unless they're paying Gal a fair bit of money off this, he won't fight.
There was a big controversy last week, and it's gone into this week, William. And I think probably as a show we need to address it. It's a difficult conversation to have. But my shorts on the couch. It's been a difficult week for me with the amount of abuse I've copped about.
I thought you only copped it off Whippet.
No, I copped it off. There was some significant, and then Henry thankfully put up a thing on Instagram with us talking about it, which brought up some difficult moments for me. But
Fuel.
there was one bloke supportive. Thanks to the one
Did
bloke.
you see it, Z?
He was supportive.
I didn't realise. I mean, I was just until like I watched I was like, fuck. Something's going to slip out here.
I would like to-
But just the laid backness, that's what it was. Wasn't he sitting like this?
It was a leg spread.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I watched the Queen's funeral because my wife decided that it was a good idea for me to watch the Queen's funeral after watching 7 million games of rugby union and rugby league this year, and I thought I'll give you that. And it was. I tell you what, there was no one sitting at the funeral the way we sit on this couch with him. It's all very knees together.
No.
So I might try and just keep the knees together.
He's got some pants on.
I'll never wear
He had
shorts.
one last week.
One thing that we should go into a little bit, and I think it's we've been talking about it for a while now in terms of HIAs and things like that. But the tragic story of Mario Fenech and the story that was done on him, which I think is great because it's raised awareness, and Mario Fenech would have to be one of the most liked and most respected men in the game. And if this now leads to care for him and his family, I think it's nothing but a good thing. But if there was ever an opportunity for people to look at the dangers of this sport and how brutal it can be, then Mario Fenech's experience should really be starting to open a few eyes.
Yeah, because Mario Fenech, he's a legend of the game and played the game hard and tough. And to see him like this and to see him finally open, I think it's been a little bit hidden, like mainstream, but people in the know and in the NRL in and abouts knew that Mario has been suffering a fair bit from dementia, early onset of dementia. Everyone was sort of, wondering about that. And, I think this will raise a lot of awareness. Hopefully, financially, the game gets behind him. Menna League, RLPA, the NRL itself, because I think he's found himself in a bit of a pickle financially with a lot of the things that's going on with the amount of bills and everything like that, and him not remembering and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of intricacies to go into that story.
Which is that's a pretty common thing too.
That's a pretty common thing. And, and his wife apparently has gone back into the workforce.
Yeah.
Where, they should be comfortable and living that life. And he's not far off a full-time carer. So if the game is not looking after him, the game's done him wrong. I just think with with the HIAs, with everything so prevalent right now in the game, trying to look after the players, the game's probably the safest it's ever been at the moment. But it can still get better. It can still get better. We've got to take it out of the players' hands sometimes. When you see these, like guys that are stiff on the ground, you know what I mean? The next minute they're playing again the next week.
Yeah.
Like that's what it needs to be a lot more strict. The protocols need to be a lot more harsher. Like, I mean, I'm 42, Muzz is 60. That's 18 years. I couldn't picture myself in that. And I know he played in a different era and he played the game a lot different than I did.
There was no protection for him.
There was no protection. It was just like get up. It was like a badge of honor, all that kind of stuff. I sort of played to the back end of that era. I mean, not the night, but the badge of honor, get up. They didn't really care about HIAs and knockouts and all that kind of stuff. But the game is, as I said, it's probably at its safest, but it can get better. Got to take it out of these players' hands, and like I just look at other sports, UFC. If you get knocked out cold, like I've seen players get knocked out cold this year, like Victor Radley and Moses, and end up turning back up the next week, where it's a minimum 6 weeks. You know what I mean? Like NFL protocols. You're in that protocol. It could be for a month, could be 8 weeks, it could be a long time. But we just go, we can pass these little cognitive tests and then bang, we're straight back out there the next week. Yeah, I just don't think that's right.
I think the funny thing is well, like we spoke last week about, I guess, HIAs and the way that the game, like if you took the heat out of the game is the way that we put it with just letting a bloke throw a punch, everyone swarms, no one gets hurt, and it just gets the heat out of the game. And that sort of stops the head slamming and the blokes bringing the frustration out. But then I had a bloke on Instagram come at me saying, we're supportive of player welfare, but saying that a punch is a good thing. And then he basically went from that. And you never argue with idiots on the internet because they just drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. But he was basically calling me a one-punch killer at the end of that. And he's missed the point. The point is no one gets hurt with blokes throwing handbags. It just takes that out. In terms of the genuine issues with head knocks in the game, it's head on hip, it's head high tackles, it's blokes unprotected coming through and hitting a hard part of someone else's head or whatever. That's where the HIAs are coming from. They're not coming from like obscene violence. They're coming from tackles gone wrong and things like that. And that's where you need to protect the players, because the players will keep playing. If they are given a choice, they will keep playing, whether it's at the game. You see blokes that have been knocked out cold arguing with trainers saying, I'm sweet, I want to go back on. They will always, players play.
You don't understand. Like, I mean, these players, all athletes of this collision sport, were cut from a different cloth. We're not your average sort of person. You know what I mean? We're like modern day warriors. These guys are modern day gladiators out there. There's a badge of honor. They don't want to let their team down. They don't want to let their fans down. They don't want to let themselves down. So, they think a head knock is nothing. You know what I mean? Like when we were playing, it was just like nothing. Who cares? Just fucking shake it off and just keep going. It's just. But that's times have changed. Times have changed, and the fighting bit is like I've never seen anyone get completely KO'd. Do you know what I mean? Like with a fight, most of these fights last for 5 seconds, get everything out of the way.
Paul Gallen's probably the best rugby league boxer. He put one on Nate Miles' chin. He was standing there. Nate Miles just stood there. It's not going to hurt.
It barely happens. So with the fighting and stuff like that, they've totally eradicated that. But then they brought this whole bitchiness and squaring up and all that kind of stuff into the game.
Yeah,
that's what they've done.
Cheap shots.
The cheap shots are done, and the people running in third man and like these melees. You know what I mean? They're causing a lot of melees at the moment. Where a simple fight, 5-10 seconds would we'll get rid of it.
Yeah,
get rid of it. So I mean, I'm speaking from a different sort of era, from the 2000s. But I ended up playing into the 2010s, where the game changed. Changed about 2014, where you couldn't throw a punch. So everyone's sort of probably gonna have to wait another 5-10 years for all these older dudes to retire, and this new generation come up who just don't ever want to fight.
Yeah,
they just want to play the game like it is, in good spirits. You won't have real crazy firebrands like Victor Radleys and the Hargraves, or cut from the same sort of cloth that we're cut from. You know what I mean? They saw us playing when we were playing. They want part of that because we looked at that era from the 90s and we wanted to be that. You try and replicate what you see. So if you're talking about a 10-year-old now watching the game, they're watching the game in the safest place. You know what I mean? Like they know that you can't fight. They know that you can let your team down to get sent off for 10. There's repercussions to your actions. So you got to think 10 years ahead. That 10-year-old kid who's watching the game right now going, all right, well, I can't do this, I can't do that. I've got to play the game fair. I've got to get my tackle tech up like prim and proper, 100%. I don't want to get knocked out, let my team down. You know what I mean? Just because my tackle tech's off. So all these little kids will be thinking of all these little variables of the game. If they get coached well, they'll come through the system as great athletes, good football players, all that kind of stuff. You know, so you got to think 10 years ahead because, you know, Victor Radley's going to be playing for another 6, 7, 8 years. Hargrave's probably got a couple left in him. You take, you know, like, you know, the Lodgers and all those, you know, they're hitting 30. They've probably got, as I said, like maybe 5 to 8 years left in them. As I said, like then the game's, there's not many other crazy motherfuckers out there playing that want fucking smoke all the time.
There will be,
you know what I mean?
In every team, there will be one.
There's always one. I'm just saying.
One redheaded
of
kid
course,
just coming out trying to
you know,
crowbar
but it'll be just a little bit more tame. You know what I mean? I'm just saying because the rules only got changed 6 years ago. You can't expect everyone just to be toeing the line because you had those blokes who were already playing first grade when the rules got changed.
Yeah.
So they had to change their whole game up, and they've, you know, but you still can't take that shit out of Hargraves.
No.
There's a square up, man. That's what happened last week with Tom Burgess. You know what I mean? That's, you know, that you take Teddy out, I'll take you out. So that's how it is. That's why we play the game. That's why I said that's why everyone can't play the game.
You like you talk about blokes looking up to other blokes, and you quite looked up to Gordon Tallis coming through.
Yeah,
you know, he
I
was
love
one of your. I tell you what, if you look at that Brisbane era, and they won. I mean, they had some football sides,
great teams,
but
man.
they are still so close. Like they will just all die on a hill for their mates in terms of like Kevin Walters. Anyone that comes out and bags Kevin Walters, he's got, you know, some of the greatest players in the game just jump straight in to support him. One thing that Gordon Tallis said this week was that the general manager role of like the manager of football or whatever it might be, it's a made-up role and they should be answering to the coach kind of thing. You've obviously, I guess Phil Gould is probably the most well-known of all of the general managers, and he's done it at Penrith and now he's doing a terrific job at Canterbury. Explain what the general manager role actually is, because I feel like there's this theory that, you know, some obviously think the coach should make every decision, like what Gordon Tallis is saying. Other people look at what Phil Gould did with Penrith over a period of time and the rewards that they're reaping there now. So what does a general manager of football do that the coach doesn't?
Yeah, I just think it's hard with Gordy. I know what Gordy's coming from. He loves Kevy Walters. He loves the Broncos. And I honestly think Kevy is not a bad coach. I don't think you have to be great at the X's and O's and all that kind of stuff, but you need
technical stuff. You
need to be able to get your team up for that 80 minutes, prepare them well, but have a team around the head coach. The head coach sees over everything. Soccer, NFL, they have it all perfect because they have the manager. It's not called a coach. It's a football manager. You know, your head coach. They may say head coach in NFL, assistant coordinator, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, linebackers coach, offensive line, DB's coach, wide receivers coach. Everything's specialty coaches, like positional coaches. That's what you need. And I think the game is evolving into that. There's no more just assistant coach and the other assistant coach. Then we all just, you know, there's 3 coaches. No, you're gonna have the middles coach, the edge coaches, the centers coaches, edge, like wingers, backs, back 5. Do you know what I mean? Like all these specialty coaches. Then you're gonna have a head coach who oversees everything. That's all Kevy Walters needs to do. But he needs to surround himself, and the club needs to surround him with good people. And that's where the GM comes in.
Yeah,
he needs to select all these people around him. That's what GMs do in the NFL. It's a very, very hard job. They recruit, they select, they put the right team around the head coach. So that's what a GM does. That's what Gus does. Guys like Wayne Bennett, he pretty much is a GM and a coach. He's like your Bill Belichick. That's what Bill Belichick does for the New England Patriots. He does both. Wayne Bennett can do both. He's been around the game for 30 or 40 years, does everything. Like Robinson, you know, like Bellamy, they're all their sort of GM. But when you've got a guy like Kevy Walters, you gotta understand, this is Kevy Walters' 3rd year as a head coach.
Yeah, he's
young. He's not young as in age-wise, but in years in the NRL, he's been the assistant coach. He's been in teams because he's Kevy Walters. He's a larrikin. He's a funny dude. He's just a good bloke. But he wasn't sitting there teaching you all the X's and O's and defensive drills and all this kind of stuff. Kevy was just Kevy all the time. He's been assistant coach when I was at Newcastle, assistant coach in the Australian teams and all that kind of stuff. We just love Kevy because Kevy's Kevy. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, but where other systems, just say like with like Parramatta and the Bulldogs and all that kind of stuff, and Des Hasler, how they operate, they'll have like a lot of people surrounding the head coach. A lot of the analytics guy, you got the defensive coordinator, the offense, and then like special, like the middles and like the edges. As I said, like everything's broken up into little parts. So if you individually do your job, just say if the middles do their job, and then the edges do their job, the back five do their job, collectively you come in as a team, then you play your best football. Middles just hang out with fucking middles. You don't care about what a winger's doing. You ever. Do you know what I mean? Like you got to have connection with your halfback, your nine, but you're always just hanging out with middles, and you got to play with them all the time. You got to go to the end of the earth for them. You know what I mean? The centers do the same thing. Everyone hangs out in their own little sections. Like especially on the field.
Yeah.
On the field. So off the field, you can be best mates with the wingers and fullbacks. Who gives a shit? But on the field, you're in the middle. You got to own that middle. But the GM has a big important job because. Just say if the coach didn't answer to anyone, who the fuck holds the coaches accountable?
Yeah.
The chairman? No, the chairman just runs the CEO. The CEO just does the business.
Finance
the
stuff.
business of finance and the marketing and all that. They do the business of the club. The GM controls how the football players are going, how the coaches are going. He holds everybody accountable. So if you have no GM, if you're having a struggling coach and he like, who's the answer to?
Yeah.
Or especially if you're a young coach, you sort of want a GM sitting up the top going, no, you need to work on this, 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 and this. We need this person in. We need this person in. I'm going to bring you this guy in. And you got to work with him.
Is Icon would be younger than Kev Waters, wouldn't he?
Yeah, way younger than
maybe
Kevy.
maybe there's
maybe they just don't like each other. Who knows? Like Gordy's Gordy. You can say what he wants. He's highly respected. And some of his views in the last couple of weeks have been spot on.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, you're sticking up for Kevy. Kevy's one of his good mates. And I just can't blame Kevy for the Broncos' demise at the end of the year.
No,
I'm just like, dude, he's in fourth position with 6 rounds to go, and you fucking blew it.
You don't
if I'd have told you guys, like, if there was a bet on saying this is what's going to happen to the Broncos the last 4 games, and this is what's going to happen to Canberra, you'd be like, no way, I'll give you $1 billion. And it happened. You know what I mean? Like, you'd never ever expect it. And Kevy, he would have had all those players prepped them all good, get them all up for that game, and they just didn't perform. Kevy can't get out there and fucking kick goals for you and kick and make tackles for you, make the right decisions for you. All they can do is prepare you for the game, and you got to go out there and deliver. It's not like the NFL when you've got the coach in your ear and he's calling plays, and if you don't do your job, everything stuffs up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's such a different job, so there's some more accountability on players. But back to your question, GMs, you've got to have a GM.
Yeah.
You've got to have a GM. Like, he needs to sit above everyone and make everybody accountable.
Well, Frank Manisi does that job in Melbourne with Bellamy. And Bellamy's Bellamy.
But it just depends what
depends
what dynamics you have within the club.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how old? What's credentials does this GM have, or football operations, whatever they call it? You know what I mean? What credentials is he respected in the game? Frank Panisi is. Phil Gould is. I'm not sure if Ben Ikin is.
Yeah.
So they might be looking at Ben Ikin and going, what the fuck do you know? Do you know what I mean? That's how, like, especially these older players like Gordy and that.
Yeah.
What do you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what happens when you get egos get in the way and all that kind of stuff. You might be making the wrong decisions. And then you got to understand where coaches come from. Coaches want their own people there. You know what I mean? They want to pick their own circle. Where a GM can come and go, no, I'm going to put him in here. And then one of your mates is done. So, like Terry Madison's there, Cartwright, Steve Walters. I'm pretty sure he's going to try and change a few of those people.
Yeah.
Steve Walters is Kevy Walters' brother. Terry Madison is, they won premierships together. Cartwright, they've been mates forever. They've been on kangaroo tours together. So you got to understand that bond.
Yeah.
It lasts forever because I understand that because I'm going to have bonds with these guys forever. Like these guys I went on kangaroo tours, played Origin with, and won grand finals with. Let alone my fucking brother. You want to sack my brother? Shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's the dynamics of that whole thing, and you don't think he's going to want to change something?
And let's be honest, Will. If sides are losing, it's the coach that gets sacked, not the general manager.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot of pressure on head coaches. We've talked about it before. The amount of stress.
Too much pressure
on coaches.
It's too much pressure.
You get the arse halfway through the year. You got to pay.
It's too much pressure.
It's too hard.
I think it's unfair pressure, and it's all built up from the media. I'm glad that Gordy's sticking up for Kevy. I'd do the same if one of my mates was coaching. I'd be like, no, it's not his fault. Because as a player, you you take most of the accountability. You have to, but you don't really because they put it all on a coach or a couple of star players. You know, they're very careful and they hold the narrative and they control it. You know, where Gordy, he knows. So he knows it's not Kevy's fault. But they'll probably give him one more year. If they don't make the 8 next year, then heads will rattle. But I think they're going to try and change the assistant coaches, special coaches around that sort of place. So it'll be interesting to see because if you sack Steve Walters, his brother, fuck's that going to do?
Yeah.
It's not going to be good.
I think if Canterbury don't win a comp in the next 3 years, I can probably put a finger on the Pathways development coaches.
Yeah,
they're probably
me.
the ones that they have.
Why are these fucking players coming up?
Where's the last kid that was under 18 played first grade?
Sonny Bill.
So, William, you, despite being the worst Pathways development officer of all time, are probably, and I don't say this
Is that
lightly.
even my job?
I don't know what you do. Mate, I don't know what you do. All I know is you go off, disappear in Canterbury kit, and then go.
I just asked Freddie Serraldo, the kit manager, just for a shitload of Bulldogs kit, so I look like I'm part of the club.
And then I see you on TV up in North Queensland drinking seltzers. That's all I see you doing.
That's what I do.
So you have got, and it pains me to say this, you have got one of the smartest rugby league brains going around, and anyone who listens to you for more than 5 minutes understands that your knowledge of the game is this is making me feel sick saying it, but you genuinely do know a lot about the game.
You're literally sick, so maybe it's that.
It's thinking about having to say this.
Yeah.
I'm always sick. There's something wrong with me. I think I'm dying. And then what I want you to do, Will, there's 2 more games, right? There's 2 more games, the 2 prelims. I want you to deep dive into those 2 games. I want you to tell me about how each team needs to play. I want you to compare the middles and the edges and the halves and the back 5 and whatever of those sides. And then I want you to tell me who wins and why. So let's start with the Cowboys and the Eels. The game's obviously up in North Queensland. Let's start with, as a player, does the week off help or hinder?
I think at this moment it helps because it's a bloody long season, you know what I mean? And you want that rest as much as you can get. A lot of those kids, 6 or 7, being involved in Origin this year. Big campaign. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I think the elements this week, it's going to be 30 degrees in Townsville. Humidity like 70%. Disgusting weather to play in. Where's Parramatta been for the whole year? What's the weather been like down here?
Mostly in Parramatta.
Miserable. Raining, dry, wet, all that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's just been all over the shop all year. You go up there now this week, 30 degrees. It's 30 degrees at 9 o'clock this morning up there. Like 30 degrees. What's the highest? What, we're all out in the sun yesterday. It was 20 degrees.
Yeah.
It was fucking hot.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? You go up there, you hit that. It ain't a Sydney 30. It's a 30 plus the humidity.
150%.
So I look
humidity.
at the big boys, Junior Paulo, Campbell Gillard, Papali'i, you know what I mean? Sean Lane. They're big bodies, man.
Yeah.
They're all over 120 kilos. Big men. The elements might get them at the end.
Yep.
You know, Kafusi, Niokora, Madison's pretty fit, you know what I mean? But the ball's going to be slippery. It's going to, because that humidity gets it up there. And it ain't, and you know what I mean? It's not like your 25 beautiful sort of degree. It's fucking hot. You know what I mean? So I think the elements might get them. And just the balance that North Queensland have at the moment with their 9, I think Robson's a top 3, top 5 hooker in the world at the moment. Jordan McLean fit as hell. Ruben Cotter fit as hell, can ball play. Jordan McLean's developed a tip on. Nanai on the right edge, he can take you on the outside, put you on the inside, offloads, great under the high ball, everything. Hiku, Tuolangi, and on the other side, Tuolangi might. Who's on the other side? The other winger.
Felt's back.
Felt's on the so Felt and Val Holmes. You know what I mean? Like it looks like a very and Tom Gilbert.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then Taumalolo in the middle, arguably the best forward in the world again.
Well, let's go through. So let's start with the middles, Will. You've got a Parramatta side that is littered in the middle with representative players. You've got Reid Marnie, who I think has been excellent the last couple of weeks. He's been really good for Parra, which is good for Canterbury next year. But you've got, I guess, 2 of the premier props in the game. There's no question that, as you say, that Parramatta side are a lot bigger than the Cowboys side. Mm-hmm. At what point does that size differential, like, do you think with the way that the Cowboys play that they're going to be able to control that middle and that Para's not going to roll through them?
Yes, 100%, because the guys that they have in their team are hitters. Ruben Cotter hits you around here. Campbell Gillard's 6'6".
Yeah.
He's a target for little guys like look what Leota and Kenny did to him a couple of weeks ago. Bang, they chopped him in half. You know what I mean? The gas is going to be taken out of him very early. Paulo, they're big boys, mate, and they're big. They're good on the front foot. You put them on the back foot like they did against Penrith, and they're on the back foot that whole time. They were gassed by the end of that first half.
Yeah,
gassed, and then they had nothing in the second half where Penrith ran straight through them. You know what I mean? So you think that North Queensland's not going to keep the ball in place the whole time? Put some they're not going to have Nathan Cleary kicking style to Wonga Blake.
Yeah.
But I think Wonga Blake's going to get over that sort of stuff. And Opacek, I'm not sure if he's going to play, but his hamstring looks a little bit buggered. He's got to go against Val Holmes, who is on fire. He's probably the best back in the whole game at the moment. So I just look at the evenness of the pack. Sean Lane, great game last week before, didn't see him. Why is that? Dylan Brown moves good, made over 300 metres on the weekend. Outstanding game. Yeah. But that put Sean Lane in the game. You think they're not going to try and shut down Moses and shut down Dylan Brown? So then it shuts down Lane. You know what I mean? So their defence moves very, very quick, and they move like Penrith. They're fucking quick and they're mobile. They're no one miss it, and they all play big minutes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like Ruben Cotter moves around that ground. Jordan McLean moves around the ground. Robson moves around. Cotter moves around. Nanai. They're all interchangeable pieces as well. They can play back row. Luciano Leilua. This is most important. Leilua. Cohen Hess. The big New Zealander fella off the bench. You know what I mean? Brown. And then you got the hammer coming on if something gets loose around the ruck, and he might be he's the back if someone gets injured or something like that. You got the quickest bloke nearly in the comp. So I just think what they have up there plus the elements, and if it's 50-50 ball or if it's 55 or 60% to North Queensland, they're going to run through them.
Yeah,
I swear to God, because you can take Papali'i out of the game in Sean Lane if Campbell Gillard.
If you control it.
If Campbell Gillard, because they're very one-dimensional. Campbell Gillard's one-dimensional. You can get up, line speed, bang, put numbers into him, slow the play the ball down. You know what I mean? Needs to develop a little bit of a tip on, but he hasn't developed that yet. So teams game plan for that. They know he doesn't pass, so they'll go boom. They'll hit him. Paulo, on the other hand, that late offload. And he's got great, beautiful skill. I think he's one of the best big men in the game. Papali'i on that right edge, Sean Lane on the other edge, and then you got Niokora, who's been starting at lock. They've got a decent pack. Do you know what I mean? But like, they're fucking big and they can gas out. You got to understand, this is not at CommBank Stadium where it's just like all Parramatta's fans. It's all you know what I mean? Like the ground's perfect and everything like that. It's going to be dewy and slippery, but hot as hell up there. These guys train, they live there.
Yeah.
You can't think that that's not going to play a big part if you can get most of the ball, kick to corners, put that pressure on. You know, like I just think they're as you said, styles make fights, all that sort of stuff. And I just think North Queensland have that sort of, first of all, they're playing up there. It's going to be 30 degrees. Second of all, I just think they have the team to beat them. Like Taumalolo can get the ball 3 wide and you can either pass it or you can just dig into you. Or you can just use late footwork. Like he'll get you sitting back on your seat, easy meters, you know what I mean? Like he'll get him on the front foot, that Tom Gilbert, Luciano Leilua, Cohen Hess. You got vets on that bench. And you have a look at Parramatta's bench. Bryce Cartwright, he's been in and out of the team all year. You still got the...
Jacob Arthur's still there.
Jacob Arthur, who I just wouldn't put in that team nowhere near. I'll put him at 18th man. I'll put Nathan Brown on the bench. Kafusi and probably Madison on the bench. Cohen Hess played Origin. Luciano Leilua can play second row and lock, and probably he's fringe red player.
He's played front row.
You know what I mean? Like he can play anywhere. Who's that other guy off the bench? The Hammer and Griffin Neem.
Griffin Neem.
He's 6'5".
Yeah,
and he's big and he's not scared of anything. He'll play for New Zealand this year. You know, like, so I just think matches make fights. I love Reece Robson, man. Jordan McLean's been playing out of his skin. Tom Dearden, Chad Townsend, just that kicking game that they're going to have. It's going to be relentless.
It's funny too.
I really feel, I think Parramatta, if they were playing down here, I think I'd back Parramatta.
Yeah, look, I reckon this is a much harder game to pick. The thing for me is that if you look at the halves, you've got Dylan Brown, who is one of the best running 5'8", it's probably him and Munster are the two best running 5'8" in the comp. Mitchell Moses' kicking game, like Moses rarely runs, and if he does, it's usually off the back of something else. So you know that you've got a kicking 7 and a running 5'8". With the Cowboys, it's slightly different because Dearden he's turning more into a running 5'8". He's running well, but if you're defending against those two sets of halves, how are you making sure that Dylan Brown can't run or Tom Dearden can't run?
Inside.
And how are you going to stop that kicking game?
Just say if it's going to be from the inside pressure. It's going to be from the Reuben Cotters and the Robsons. The amount of pressure that they put on Moses, and just say if you're in the middle of the field, it might be first receiver, might be Dylan Brown. From marker and A and B, there'll be so much pressure on Brown coming at him, and Nanai will just hold his edge. He'll be opposite Sean Lane, and then they'll just come up and in. They've got a really good defensive system, but the inside pressure that they have, because they have that mobility. Like Campbell Gillard and Paulo, they'll put inside pressure on, but they're not as quick and mobile as the Cotters and Jordan McLean's and even Taumalolo and all these guys and Cohen Hess and that when they come off the bench. They're quick, they're movers, they're fit. You know what I mean? Like they look fit, they look strong, they're quick, they move side to side real good laterally. They don't move, they don't really miss much. So you can get at Dylan Brown and you can get at Moses. Like in attack. I mean, Canberra played it wrong last week. Why wouldn't you just run all your traffic at Moses? They didn't do it at all.
No, I didn't.
They didn't do it. And you don't think Taumalolo is going to be stepping off his right foot trying to get at him, and then you got either Luciano Leilua or that Gilbert guy running outside in and making Moses put his head where he doesn't want to put his head. That's what you're going to have to do.
Yeah.
And Dylan Brown, you're just going to have to put inside pressure. The kid will run. You know what I mean? But then you got to understand what Lane's doing. Like if you got Opacek on that left edge. I'm not really worried about him in attack, because first of all, he's coming off a hamstring injury. You know what I mean? I'm not really worried if they go left. And then, if it's Penasini or, the other young kid, you're going up against Val Holmes and Petahiku, great defensive players. Then the two wingers, great defensive players, Murray Tuolangi, and Kyle Felt. Well-balanced side, drink water out the back, does some outstanding things. I just think the more I talk about North Queensland, the more I talk about Parramatta. The pressure's on Parramatta to get through this prelim because they haven't got through to a prelim since 2009. The pressure's on them. Yeah. And the pressure's on Moses because if he doesn't get through this time, the knives will come out massive and they'll put it all on him.
Because I was going to say who wins and why, but I think you've probably just answered
I
that.
just think
on the Cowboys.
I just think the Cowboys, the way that they play, how relentless they are, they're confident in their system. They're confident in their defensive system and their attack, and they can attack from anywhere. And they just score tries wherever they want. And they got strike, man. Their two wingers have freaky tries. I never thought anyone could score better tries than Felt. Murray Tuolangi on the other side. You got Petahicu's on the fire, and then the left edge, you got Val Holmes, who did. And Townsend he's like the puppet master. He just gets everyone going. Then you got arguably the best forward nearly in the history of the game, Taumalolo, playing outstanding, got a week off. Now they're all back and they'll just put all their cards into the middle and just go, let's go. I just think they have that team. I'm pretty sure they're not scared of anybody in Parramatta.
No. All right, well, let's go. The second game is a very different game because you've got Penrith who are...
It's going to be raining as well on Friday.
Yeah, Penrith are just
yuck.
hard to beat. And if you let's look at South's essentially, they've got the most dangerous left edge in the comp. Everyone knows that. Penrith are going to be doing a heap of work on how to shut that down. Because
look what they did last week. Fucking Tane Milne scores 2 tries on the right.
Yeah. So let's look at the Penrith side. The issue that we had at the start of the year was probably, with South that is probably that their middle just didn't look like it was going to be strong enough to win a comp. They've probably overperformed their middle. Yep. You've got, the perfect example is when Cook and Murray weren't playing against the Roosters, their middle was gone. And then as soon as those blokes were back, they looked like world beaters. So I think, Tom Burgess is a loss, but they overcame that last week.
And Harvilli, man, those two, don't underestimate what Harvilli does off the bench.
I think he's out.
He's out. No, he's out. Yeah, I'm just saying, so Tom Burgess, Harvilli, they come big bodies. They took care of, Tom Burgess wasn't that big a loss, but Tom's been dynamite off the bench. He's a big body. You need big bodies against this Penrith team because they fucking hit hard and they pick you up and drive you back. And they're great at that. Missing Harvilla, he comes off the bench. He's one of those guys, you get stopped if you run into him.
Yep.
He hits you like a fucking truck. In attack, he stands in tackles. He's got a late offload. But having those two players out, the amount of pressure on Totola and Nichols and Cam Murray is going to be exponential, because Moses Leota, Fisher Harris, Liam Martin, Isaiah Yeo, Api Coruscant, Mitch Kenny, they fucking hit hard. They hit hard. So if you're not running flat out and they just need to cop their medicine early on, because have a look what they did to Parramatta a couple of weeks ago. They monstered Campbell Gillard. They monstered Junior Paulo. Sean Lane couldn't even be found. Papali'i was like, Papali'i and Kickout just cancelled each other out.
Yeah.
They just fucking boom, brick wall. So I just look at that team. I'm just like, wow, Penrith are going to be so hard to beat. I can see South getting over the top of them only if their forward pack does.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but Totola, is he better than Fisher Harris? Mark Nichols, is he better than Leota? And then you have a look at the bench. Spencer Lienu, Scott Sorensen, Mitch Kenny. I'm not sure if they'll start Mitch Kenny in front of Coruscant. Kaloa Matangi, Jai Arrow's been playing outstanding. Mark Nichols and Totola, they need to run. They've got to set the tone. They have to. Mark Nichols' leg speed isn't that quick, but he's coming all right. Cam Murray, get that quick play of the ball. Damien Cook, get out, brings Totola onto the ball, and then they get their sets rolling. You don't think Penrith's just going to be going, fucking get numbers in on Cam Murray, get numbers in on Totola, squeeze the ruck up, and just hit them as hard as you can. Dare you to go around us.
Yeah.
It's going to be slippery at ANZ. They play in between those lines. And they jam up and they'll hit you as hard as they can. They'll pick you up really fucking good and drag you back. That's what they'll be doing. As if Cleary's not going to be putting those. This is what you want to do. Remember last year where Turbo got schooled by the Storm? They kept kicking that way because he's a right arm carry and he couldn't come across the field palm. So you kick that way, right arm carry, left palm. Cleary will be putting him down there. So Latrell. It'll be just between Tane Mill and Latrell, but they'll want Latrell to run it back because it'll just be a game of chess. You want Latrell to run it back so he fatigues like they did against the Roosters did to him. Yeah. So Tane Mill will be play 2, or if not, Latrell's going to be play 2. Do you know what I mean? Like or that Tass or the other side, but they want Latrell coming out of the right corner because he's a left arm carry, so he's not going to palm across that, so it's an easy hit. You know what I mean? You get a legs tackle, you get 2 or 3 in, pick him up, drag him back. On that other side, he can run across the field with his left arm, his right hand just palm blokes off. He's one of those guys, he can beat a couple of people, squeeze through. All he needs is a little gap, finds his front. They don't want him to find his front. They need to dominate Latrell, so all the rest of them, because they all look at Latrell like he's a god, he's their saviour. They pick him up and demoralise him early. Alex Johnson doesn't really want play 2s.
Well, and Alex Johnson looks
dodgy.
The week off.
Could be Mansell. What do you think? I bet fucking.
I think they'll pick
Cleary's going. Please pick Mansell.
They'll pick Kenner. I reckon.
I'm just saying, he nearly ended his career 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because of those bombs. What he did to Wonga Blake. You know what I mean? Like, man, he's got something in his kit bag this week. But that's the only way they're going to try and stop Latrell coming out of yardage, because he's their dude. They won't hit him high like they did like the other week. There won't be any high shots like the Roosters did. It'll be illegal and everything like that. And what they need to do, little things that Penrith do, when they get their back 3. So when Toto and Dylan Edwards and I think they'll miss May, that Charlie Staines comes in. You watch what they do. When, just say Dylan Edwards has got the ball and he runs to that just say Luai's side. When they got those numbers in trying to pick him up, watch what Luai and Dylan Edwards does do, and so does Cleary, because they're the ones always there. They push people off the play.
Yeah.
So you know how kick out and that pick people up, they fucking ragdoll 4 or 5 metres back. Because it's great technique and they practice it all the time. Other teams aren't as good as that. So what you'll see Cleary and Luai and Dylan Edwards do, so when Toto and that's taking these play 2s and that, they get behind them and they push. So what you can do, you can push your player, but you can't push other players off. So they fucking drag other people in. You watch, they will drag like Kaloa Matangi into the tackle, they'll push him off, they'll try and ruin their momentum up. So fucking, if I was captain of South, I'd be like, you can't put, I'll be chipping the ref. I'll be telling them right now, just go, watch what they do on their play 2s. I don't want Cleary touching any of our players because that's illegal. So they'd be fucking straight onto that and just dobbing them in straight away because they do it so good.
Yeah.
And they will fuck your whole set of 6 up.
Yeah.
So you got to play to the rules, right? I'll be doing that. If I was a ref, if I was the head coach, Dimitri, I'd be like, this is what they do on these seasons. They're pushing our players out of the way instead of pushing their player.
Yeah.
So they push their player and then they somehow grab your hand. To fuck the whole momentum up. That's the shit that I look at. I'm like, oh, you cheeky little fucks. I'm like, and they do that all the time. And the next minute, Tato finds his front. And next minute, or the third man is late getting back and then fucking someone's jamming in behind the ruck. That's how they get you. That's how they come out of yardage good. And they run hard and they're very good at it. But little tricks of the trade that if you don't understand, if you don't, say ref, they're doing this, and this, and the ref fucking mightn't even know about it. No one mightn't even know about it. Maybe just fucking me. You know what I mean? But that's
Your
the shit
brain
that I
works
see.
different.
Just like, okay, well, that's how they're getting their momentum starters. I'll be like, hey, watch what they do. I don't want them touching our players. They can push Toto in, but they can't touch our guys and bring them back into the ruck and all that sort of shit. You watch it.
So if South middle holds,
Can
they win?
Yeah, yes, they can. Lachlan Ilias has been outstanding. That right edge has been really good because Cam Murray comes back. So he's coming across, little dummy here, Kalamatangi getting into the game, Ilias out the back. Bang, bang, bang. They can play numbers there. I'll be picking on Charlie Staines. He hasn't played first grade all year.
Yeah.
I'll be going down that edge. Where you been? You've been in reserve grade. It's another fucking level here. This is a prelim. This is a prelim. You've been in reserve grade. This is a prelim. Playing against the big boys now, even though you have played first grade, but your speed might be up there. You might be thinking of smart because shit happens real slow in reserve grade. Bang, boom. You're on another level now. And they might try and try and pull his pants down a little bit. Like he's raw. Like he hasn't played. He's played literally one or two before Toto come back. Maybe 6 games he played, and he played good.
Yeah.
It was between May and Charlie Staines. They had to go one or the other. But if they can get that middle fixed and a couple little tip-ons around the ruck, move Penrith's ruck. Stop running into the eye of the storm where they will fucking smash you. That's where they want you to go. Get a little bit wider, little tip. Cam Murray, boom, little tip to Tola. Get it there 4-man. You know what I mean? Like, try and get it there 3-man. If you're in the middle of the field, long pass to Cam Murray, bang, get it Cleary, get it Luai. Move them around, get the middles coming up, moving back, but not hitting. But you're moving around. Next minute, you've done a fucking 600-meter sprint. You haven't fucking made a tackle. Serious, that's what you got to do. You got to move them around, move the team around, move the middles around. But they move good.
Yeah.
They move good and they're fit and they're relentless. South's willing to go that whole time with them. Kick, do the same thing as Penrith. Get up, boom, boom, boom. Get the ball back. Play percentages, kick, all that sort of stuff. Who's going to crack first? And then when you get into the red zone, who can pull the trigger? Because, hey, Souths have been good with Penrith this year. Yeah. They've matched them physically. They're not fucking worried. I don't think everyone else is worried. But I think South's like Totola, they go, fucking bring it on. I need this shit. And we want redemption for last year. So I'm going to go for fucking Souths.
Willie's Big Boys.
It's a good one this week, Will. I look at this and I think there's some new names on here.
There are. It was hard because, the Taumalolos and the Fisher Harrises and all those blokes, they didn't play this week,
That's
right. So, it was outstanding. And I have picked a couple of back rows in there because their meters and everything were just outstanding. And they both play 80 minutes a game as well. So my first vote is to Sean Lane. Obviously, there was an APB out for him at first game against Penrith.
Missing person.
You know what I mean? He didn't make 100 metres. He's been outstanding. I was plugging this kid to get on the Aussie tour about 3 weeks ago, and then he fucking does that to me. To me. God.
To you.
Just to me, specifically to me, Sean. Come on, man. Anyway, he comes back this week, and it was hard to split the games up. But because I think, they were in control the whole game. Parramatta weren't ever going to lose that game. Made over 220 metres. Coincides with our boy Dylan Brown making 303 metres or something.
Ridiculous.
That is unbelievable.
The kid can play.
Oh, that was outstanding. 2 points to Totola. He's been outstanding. I think he's been their best player all year, or definitely their best forward. I think he made 175, 80 metres a game, 55, 60 minutes. And my 3 points, Isaiah Papali'i. It's just a beast on that right edge. But the amount of meters, this is the sort of meterage these both edge players need to get. This is what North Queensland's goal will be. get you two boys under 100 metres, and this is their goal. You want 200 metres plus. Both these guys now go 200 metres.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's what gets them on the front foot, because then it takes a little bit of pressure off Campbell Giller, a little bit of pressure off Big Paulo. You know what I mean? The bench doesn't have to do as much, but they'll be asked to put maximum effort in. So 3 points go to Isaiah Papali'i. Well done, big man. So the leaderboard is coming third, Campbell Gillard on 13. And Campbell Gillard, it's hard to leave Campbell Gillard out, but I couldn't put them all in. 13 points. Second is even on 16, James Fisher-Harrison Jr. Paulo. And on 19, stands alone, the OG big boy is Jason Taumalolo. So,
did you put not updated on there because it was before and you thought maybe one of those players had got a point? Or is it just to confuse me? It says not updated.
You're fucked.
Hate you, Henry.
All right.
All right. Well, the producer won last week. He won $276.
Hey,
That's a win. It's a win. It is a win. He picked 4 winners. I think he picked the 2 Swans and something else.
How do I go?
What about the Swans last week?
Oh, how good was that game?
Yeah.
I saw Buddy Franklin about 5 weeks ago, maybe 6. I was down at Fox Sports and I haven't seen him for a while. It was good to see him. He just looked real humble and just, I think the last time I saw him was like 2008, so that was a different Buddy. And a different Willie. And it was in the Birdcage in the Melbourne Cup. So we weren't normal. Anyway, I saw him and I said, because I haven't been following the AFL this year. I haven't been really following it. I said, you guys chance? He goes, fucking mate. He goes, bro, massive chance. I didn't know this one was going to get in the grand final. I said, you chance? He goes, yeah, big time. I should have put I don't know, $50 on it or something. Like even
from here. We should have put all our winnings on it.
Because no one even thought, I don't think that they were that good. But well done to the Swannies.
It is a low
Geelong's good, but aren't they?
It's a low sport. I was watching a bit of it.
I might be going down this week. I might be going down.
Weird sport.
Just want to check it out, the whole vibe down there.
Have you been to a grand final?
Not down there, no.
It's quite the well, that's the only place. It's quite the show.
Oh, no, yeah, sorry.
It is quite the show.
I think Rugby League need to really take a leaf out of that book.
No, but the AFL, there's something wrong with people in Melbourne. And there's just
but we get the same
they have.
Yeah, but we get that once or twice. We get that 4 times a year.
Penrith
Three Origins, and a grand final. That's the only time we go nuts. They go nuts every game.
Penrith Para would be, you can imagine them out there.
I think it's a win-win. Just say South or Penrith get in there. That's ridiculous.
Good fan base.
Just say North
Queensland.
North Queensland. Who cares? They're gonna travel probably with 10,000 down here, but like South supporters will be there in droves. And Penrith, fuck, it's a win-win now. At least I'm happy a Queensland team can get in, or it could be a double Sydney game. I don't really care.
All the neutrals will be going for North Queensland if they make it. So my bet this week is, after listening to you talk about the Cowboys, I hate this bet now with the way you've talked about it. But anyway,
I've been wrong plenty of times.
Yeah, but you sound. the important thing is to sound.
Yes,
forceful.
I know what I'm fucking talking about. Trust me.
Say it like that, and then I just believe you. So 1 to 12, it's probably the
$1,000 on it.
with our whole friendship, you talk like that, and I'm like, yeah, I should go out for 4 days. It's unreal idea. 1 to 12 Eels, Penrith 13+, and the Wallabies. I think this is a gimme. They've only just got beaten, and they should have won that game. That referee.
How the hell did they lose that game?
Oh, anyway.
I saw.
Frenchie, Henry, look at him laughing. I hate Henry.
Anyway.
The Wallabies with 15.5 start.
Who are they playing?
They're playing the All Blacks. It is at Eden Park, but all right. That's $15. That's money in the bank.
Right, listen to this for a bet. I was just making this up today. So, South, I've got 1 to 12. James Fisher-Harris, anytime try scorer. Cause I just think they are susceptible in the middle, close to the line. And Api Coruscant is tricky as hell. But I just think, with Cook there, he's not a big body. You know what I mean? I think they might be able to spot a Cook up. So I'm just, that's just me having wishful thinking. Keon Koloamatangi, I think that right edge has been hitting some good holes lately, and he can score whenever he wants. Cowboys 13+, Jeremiah Nanai, anytime try scorer, and Clint Gutherson, anytime try scorer.
Do you want to say what that's paying, Will?
That is paying $3,381, and if I win, it's $169,050. So that is going straight into my bank.
I was going to say, some lucky club will get $1,000 out of that.
Yeah, you'll get a pair of shoes.
And the producer has gone.
Can you imagine if that comes off and he's not that far? You know what I mean?
I really can't see a betting company putting that on for us, but I'll try. So the producer has gone Geelong, Mark
Blickavs,
20 or more disposals. I don't know what that means. Jeremy Cameron,
passes. Like
3 or... Oh, right.
passes.
Geelong,
Just one of those passes.
Geelong less 11.5. I should have worn the shorts this week. Total games points over 164.5.
So Jeremy Cameron, 3 or more goals.
Yeah.
So 3+.
Didn't he used to be the Prime Minister of England?
Yeah.
That bloke?
He retired.
So anyway, that's what's that paying. That's paying $10.
James Cameron's brother. He used to be a producer.
Avatar. And the other one is that Avatar will have over $1 billion at the box office.
All right.
So anyway, none of us will probably win
I've
because they're
got
awful.
my tips. Cowboys and Souths.
And
Easy.
I have gone the Eels and the Panthers.
Right. Well, we'll both be happy, I reckon.
I reckon this week, actually, that it would be good for... I think what you just hit the nail on the head. It really doesn't matter who wins out of either of these games. It's going to... Any combination, it'll be a really good grand final.
But people think about the elements. It's going to be raining on Friday. It's going to make an awful game. It's going to be hot as hell up in Queensland. So, I mean, like preliminary football, Friday night, on the Saturday night, which is the South game, like that's going to be messy.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the free-flowing game that everyone wants to see.
That suits Penrith.
Do you know what I mean? It suits Penrith down to a T, but it might suit South as well because, they've got a pretty tough team as well. Like it just takes that skill set from the backs. You're not going to see that real flashy shit. You should be seeing some fucking hard hits, man. Feeling sorry for you boys. Good luck. Make sure I will be tweeting all week.
Yeah, we'll be tweeting.
Review. masonsake.com.au.
Do the rate and review.
Yeah, rate and review. Have we got any questions?
I may have forgotten to put it up. Hang on.
Ah, fuck.
Did I forget to put it up? I did.
Oh, well.
I did.
Get us next week.
Here's a question for you, Will, from Daryl Strawberry. He'd like to know why I'm so much better at the podcast than you are.
That's a fucking lie.
No, it says it there. It's just on the Twitter page.
Who we got from someone? Thanks, mate. Really appreciate it. Keep up the great work on your show.
That's Luke.
You and Mace 20 definitely have the best NRL podcast out there.
That's Luke. He wrote an article, great article on Michael Cheekham. I should have said that, Luke. Well done, mate. Thanks for your support. You've been supporting us for years. Keep up the writing because you're good at it. And that's all.
All right.
We'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Following Willie more and more. Back in the NRL is Willie Mason.
I've forgotten how big Willie actually is.
Perhaps the presence of Willie had the Panthers looking at his imposing frame.
I'm a 25-minute man. Oh, you got skill, son.
Uppercut right hand by Big Willie.
Too fancy for you.
You've been listening to The Take with Willie Mason and co-host Ian Byrne. Produced by Craig Trewick, recorded and engineered by Zig Parker of Green Room Sydney, and presented by the Handshake Media Network.